We walk on this earth to do our tasks, one step at a time to move forward with the life we have been given. But every day can seem to be a new challenge, not simply because we have to exist within the confines of the world and experience its often harsh conditions, but because we are faced with the reality that one day will be our last day to feel the warmth of sunrise. That we are perishable creatures, never to witness a future longer than we are meant to. Humanity throughout history has pursued the effort of staying alive for as long as possible, and with the advancements in medical treatment, we have been quite successful. However, in a sense, the medicine we have created to prolong our life is a radical perversion against nature and its natural selection. In contrast to primitive animals, it's almost like humans often play a role of a god to try and circumvent the natural eradication of life. With social developments and our natural desire for survival, humans have laid down specific hopes that we may live for a long period. There are expectations and desires that we could live above the age of 80, to see our grandchildren foster a family of their own, and remark upon the eventful elevations of civilization. And many are told at a young age that we can achieve anything we desire, to live a long life with excellent health, as long as we put in the necessary work. It comes, however, to a point where our focus is so centered around what we can do while we are alive and how to prolong it, that we stop to take a moment to recognize the intrinsic reality of death and its calming philosophical beauty.
We had our time together. I have to let you go. I have to let you go.
Many out there view death as a negative thing. People who see death as something to ignore or overcome in an attempt to live more comfortably. It's common to be afraid of dying, to know that one day all that we have built up will no longer be accessible to us, and that those we love must continue without our physical presence, that we no longer with consciousness can participate in the living world. And it's entirely understandable that this brings up a lot of fear, or an act of avoidance among many, especially for those who are very attached to their lives and the people with who they share it with. The ancient Stoics, however, opened their arms to the natural element of death. Their point of view was more so of acceptance rather than avoidance, for at the end of the day, they recognized that forceful effort to prolong life was not essential for a tranquil and fulfilling experience, and that nothing exists longer than it's supposed to.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
The Stoics believe that any event in life is under the orchestration of nature. That is to say that nature isn't simply the blowing wind, the growth of grass, and the impacts of the living ocean, but that nature itself is larger than all of us, that any circumstance that we experience and endure is dictated by this force that is inherently beyond our control. All we can do as subjects of life is to follow along and trust the natural process of things instead of fighting against it. When it comes to the matter of death, in this instance, it is to understand that death itself is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight. Nature can be very unforgiving. It can all of a sudden claim the life of someone we deeply love without any sign of warning, or one may be set on a path to death through the cruel acts of torture. We may slowly see someone close to being defeated by decay, witness those who forcefully choose to reach out to a fatal outcome of their own, or grieve those who meet their conclusion through the fatality of biological hazards. Many will find themselves in a position where they have lost all hope due to the passing of someone close to their heart, and some may feel like a failure because they think they failed to protect them. It's painful, it's harsh, and it's real, but according to the Stoics, it was never meant to be any different, despite how bad we feel or how unfair and aching it is to think about. Regardless of the circumstance which leads to an individual's death, the philosophy accepts its closure as necessary, not out of ignorance or from a lack of empathy, but through the process of a harmonic understanding of nature and a desire to avoid unnecessary suffering. It is okay to feel sad after the passing of someone we care about, or when we hear news over a fatal disaster that claimed the life of many. One shouldn't be afraid to reach out and find comfort from brave and happy thoughts. The Stoics do not remove the notion of feeling or the ability to express sadness, but they do, however, emphasize that it should be done with moderation, and that one should not allow themselves to fall into destructive behavioral patterns due to someone's passing. Nor do they think that one should fear the element of their own death, since, again, no matter who we are or what we do, there comes a day when we all must return home. A home that everyone belongs in, a home of restful silence under the obligation of death.
Never say in any case I have lost such a thing, but I have returned it. Is your child dead? It is a return. Is your wife dead? It is a return. Are you deprived of your estate? Is not this also a return?
Through the lens of another perspective, we may look back on our ancient history and see the greatness of many characters who walked this earth before us, and read upon their achievements and successes. The young Alexander the Great, who conquered the vast world with courage and discipline. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who healed the people of Rome through his love of philosophy. Miyamoto Musashi and Sun Tzu, who gave the world many strategies for combat and achieving peace. And Ragnar Lothbrok, a courageous man who dared to fight the Holy Roman Empire and to do things that no Viking had ever done before that changed the course of Viking history. There are beautiful observations that can be explored by going through their stories and remarking upon the legacies of individuals who existed a long time ago. And even though many of these legendary acts separate most of them from most of us, the one commonality that all of them shared, and which we will eventually share with them as well, is the equal endpoint of mortality. Marcus Aurelius, the last great emperor of Rome, and the Stoic, particularly noted the fact that Alexander the Great and his mule driver, despite their differences, were both absorbed by nature in the end, and that there was a natural non-bias regardless of character.
I have to die. If it is now, well then, I die now. If later, then now I will take my lunch, since the hour for lunch has arrived. And dying, I will tend to later.
The point of these perspectives is to understand that there is no benefit in hiding away from the inevitable. It will happen when it happens, and one must find peace with this reality. Each person is only to exist as long as they're meant to. They're only to experience life for a limited, undisclosed time. We are here, placed on this earth to endure the lethality of change, and we must embrace such conditions with dignity. According to the Stoic philosopher Seneca the Younger, the well-known Socrates decided to wait in jail for 30 days to meet death with honor, instead of starving himself before his execution. He faced death willingly, with nobility and integrity. But this is not to say that the Stoics didn't aim to achieve fulfillment in their own ways, nor does it mean that one should be wasteful with their life and treat it as nothingness. For one shouldn't live where they wish for death, but instead never to deny the inherent gift of life and its many opportunities, despite how good or bad they might be.
I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil.
Your life shouldn't be measured by its quantity with time, but by the strength of your efforts and the quality of your pursuits and achievements. To put in order your daily tasks for the betterment of yourself, nature, society, animals, and your closest allies. As long as you do your nurturing duty, it doesn't matter when you die, for your time has come to an end, and you should meet fate knowing that you made an effort as an honorable human being.
Death is a natural part of life. Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
The Stoics also practiced the concept of premeditatio malorum, a Latin phrase meaning one should meditate on everything that could go wrong or be taken away, to be prepared for any outcome and know how to handle them more efficiently with reduced pain and suffering. Similarly, the Stoic Seneca argued that it is great to learn how to die with courage and never to fear it. To realize that your death is not an offense against nature, but a necessary transformation into the soul of our mortal earth, whether you are united amongst those who are already in the dirt, or those who ascended into the sky with ashes. The world is a part of you as you are with it. The Stoics believed in this united harmony of death and life. When we are born, we are given the gift of experiencing love, happiness, sadness, and anger, to feel warm and to feel cold, to think, to produce, to aspire, to achieve, and to nurture. In return, our gift to nature is to accept its calling with a smile when it's time for us to return home.